How to take pictures in the high school stadium. Football, soccer, and lacrosse. What we'll cover: gear and exposure. When are the games? Where to shoot from? Problems, tips. Gear and exposure in day games. Gear, camera, most any camera you have. Lens, it'll depend on the sport and where you're shooting from. On the field, 18 to 140, 18 to 400, or 70 to 300. From an elevated position, 70 to 300, 18 to 400, 100 to 400, and 150 to 600. Other, you want a monopod for the heavy lens. Exposure, mode, S or TV, which is shutter priority, 1/1600 of a second, auto ISO. Gear and exposure for night. Please see the video on how to take pictures at night games. Gear, camera. At night, you want a camera with a high ISO of 25,600. Lens, 70 to 200 2.8, or the 70 to 200 4 if your field is lighted enough. Other gear, monopod for the heavy lens. Exposure, stadium lighting at night. Lighting in high school stadiums is generally dim. Away games, the light level at different stadiums are not the same. It may be worse or dimmer at another school. So the exposure, mode S, shutter priority, 1/1000th of a second, ISO auto, or mode M manual, 1/1000th of a second, aperture wide open, ISO auto, or set the ISO level manually. When? Time slots: afternoon, 4:30, night, 6 or 7, Saturday, morning or afternoon. When a game is played depends first on the sport, then the local situation. When? By sport. Football and lacrosse, afternoon is JV, night is varsity. Soccer, afternoon is varsity, night is JV. Local situation: if your stadium does not have lights, you do not have night home games. Instead, you will play afternoon or Saturday during the day. Daytime: with full sun, camera and lens selection is not as critical as it is at night. Your primary concern is selecting the appropriate focal length for the distance and angle to the shot. Exposure will be much easier. Night games. Night depends on your latitude and time of the year. The further north you go, the earlier night starts in the winter and the later night starts in the summer. Please see the video how to take pictures at night games. Night games are the most challenging for equipment, and weather at night can be significantly colder than daytime. Where to shoot from? On the field and from the top of the bleachers. On the field. Location on the field depends on the sport that you are shooting. Football, soccer, lacrosse, track and field. Each sport has different field positions. Please see the videos for those individual sports. Example: football. These are two location plots depending on where on the football field the scrimmage line is. Soccer, depending on what time of the day, you will shifting to different positions around the field. Lacrosse has another twist on it. Lacrosse has a danger zone on the end zones behind the goal. And track and field. Track and field is complicated because you have multiple events happening at the same time. On the field, you may have some metering problems. These are two examples of them. Please see the night games video for how to deal with these lighting situations. Top of the bleachers. At the diamond on the top of the bleachers at the bottom of this picture. This is a picture from the top of the bleachers, shot with a 70-200 f4 lens on an APS-C camera. So you get an idea of the angle of the shot and what the image looks like. Bleachers, where? At the top of the bleachers, as indicated in the red square on the top picture, or some schools have a press box or video platform that you can shoot from. Bottom picture, that little red hut on the top of the bleacher, there is a railed area on top of that hut. Well, that is where you would shoot from. Bleacher problems. Distance from the top of our bleacher to the sideline is about 27 yards. I measured other schools at up to 35 yards. So you need a longer lens than down on the field just to make up that difference. Lenses during the day, 100-400 or 150-600 on a monopod or tripod. At night, 70-200 2.8. This is a compromise lens, as the longest affordable 2.8 lens is the 70-200 2.8. There is a 400 2.8, but it is too expensive. The Nikon, Canon, and Sony lenses are all over $10,000 new and over $5,000 used. Please see the night games video. And on the bleachers, you are in a fixed location. You can't move up and down following the game. Crowd. If the bleacher is crowded, it may be difficult to set up and shoot. During the day, the recommended lens from the top of the bleacher is a 100-400 or 150-600. So the question is, at night, can you use the much shorter 70-200 2.8? As shown in this picture, you can, but the issue is distance. In this picture, we're going to be shooting from the red diamond on the right of the bleachers at the bottom of the screen. Here's the issue. My normal limit for the 70-200 on an APS-C camera is 50 yards. That is the green arc. As you can see, most of the football field is beyond 50 yards. So we're going to be looking at two shots. Shot on the right, 75 yards to the 15-yard line on the opposite side of the field. Shot on the left, 105 yards to the goal line on the opposite side of the field. These are the two pictures. The field of view of a 70-200 on an APS-C camera set at 200 millimeters at 105 yards on the left and 75 yards on the right. These are the full frame images. Is it big enough for you, or is it too small? You will have to crop into these pictures to get a usable shot. And therein lies the problem. Will you be able to crop in deep enough, and will it retain enough image quality to use? At night, that corner of my stadium at that angle is approximately 2 stops dimmer than the central part of the field. The exposure ISO for the center of the field is 6,400. The exposure ISO for that corner will be 25,600. at ISO 25,600, the image quality of the image to do a deep crop will be poor. And by the way, when I said you need cameras that can go up to 25,600, this is why. So, can you use a 70-200 2.8 from the top of the bleacher at night? Unfortunately, the answer is it depends. For a shallow crop of multiple players, it is probably okay. For a deep crop of an individual, it depends. It depends on the optical quality of the lens. If you have to do a deep crop into the image, is the optical quality there? Next, the light level at that spot on your field matters. Low light will drive the ISO level up. That increases the high ISO noise and reduces how deep into the image you can crop before the image starts degrading. Picture size matters. The larger the picture, the more visible the high ISO noise. Make the picture small and it may work. Recommendation: test your camera and lens in the same lighting condition and subject position. Then you can make your own decision. Tip number 1, words of wisdom. If there is a sport that normally plays at night, and if there is a day game, shoot it. If you have to go to an away game to shoot a day game, do it. There is so much more light during the day. You do not have to make the exposure compromises that you have to for night games. And day games are warmer. Other video lessons to watch: how to take pictures at night games, the individual sports, football, soccer, track and field. The end. Please like and subscribe.